Hey, good morning, Facebook. Thank you for joining us on this Facebook Live. I'm Saquon. Of course, before we get started, don't forget you can always watch this and listen to this on your own time by visiting our InForum YouTube channel. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform and on inforum.com/podcasts under the InForum Minute as well. All right, we want to get you caught up right away on some of our top headlines this morning, starting with a Fargo man who is now facing a DUI charge after police say he crashed into two cars and a tree even. So that all happened just before 12:30 this morning, right on 10th Street South in Fargo. We did show some exclusive video this morning on First News, but in that video, you could really see a lot of this extensive damage, but we do know 52-year-old George Schwartz of Fargo actually tried running away after that crash. Officers, of course, were quickly able to find him and then arrested him for driving under the influence and DUI refusal. He's not yet in the Cass County Jail, at least as of last check, which was at around 5 o'clock this morning, because he actually had to go to the hospital first to get treated for some of his minor injuries. So I'm sure once he is done getting that sort of treatment at the hospital, he would probably be booked into the Cass County Jail. So we'll definitely let you know once that happens. Also, right now, we know the defense attorney for a Fargo man found guilty of killing a 14-year-old girl last summer is asking a judge to throw out his client's murder conviction. And the whole reason why is because he claims that it's a case of double jeopardy. So last month, we told you guys that a jury found 23-year-old Arthur Colley guilty on murder and aggravated assault charges for that brutal 30-minute attack on Jupiter Paulsen that actually ended up killing her last year. So prosecutors plan to recommend him to get a life in prison without parole. But in this new motion, right, the defense is arguing that he actually should not be found guilty on both of those counts, because he's saying that a person can't commit murder without also committing aggravated assault, which, ties back into the whole case of double jeopardy thing, right? So if that murder conviction does get thrown out, Colley would then face up to 15 years in prison. So he's set to be sentenced next Friday. Today, we're expecting to learn a little bit more on that new healthcare proposal in Devil's Lake. We know right now employees of the only hospital there currently are taking the exception to being left out. We heard from them this morning on First News, but the City Commission voted to sign a letter of intent on Monday, and that's to collaborate with the Spirit Lake Nation, All True, and Essentia. Well, CHI St. Alexius, again, that's the community's only hospital there, is not a part of that collaboration. But then, we heard from current hospital employees there that are saying, it could really cost them their jobs and end a relationship with the hospital that's, really been there and been in the works, for more than a century now. So we do know right now, leaders from Ultra, Essentia, Devil's Lake, Spirit Lake, they will be officially announcing that new plan at Lake Region State College at 10:30 this morning. So we'll let you know how that turns out. Also this morning, we have a developing story in North Dakota's COVID response. We know that an audit of the State Department of Health found thousands of doses of the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, might have been stored at the wrong temperature. And you're probably thinking, okay, who cares? Temperature. But that means those doses might not have been as effective as they should have been. So records are showing more than 1,400 doses of the Moderna vaccine specifically might have been stored in temperatures that were too cold. Health department kind of arguing back, saying they weren't, saying it was a clerical error that recorded the doses as being stored in the wrong freezer. So we'll, of course, keep questioning them and see if that's the case, but we'll let you guys know what happens out of that. Also today, if you live near Grand Forks, just know a planned burn will be taking place right at UND's Oakville Prairie Biological Field, which is actually just west of Grand Forks. Fire activity should be pretty minimal during, the morning time, but it should be the most active during the afternoon and evening. Crews are still urging you, if you live in that area, to use public roads and not park in the way of any equipment that might need to come through. Also in Grand Forks, the city is addressing some shortcomings when it comes to its juvenile facilities, and this whole concern comes from a lack of shelter care capacity. The facility does need some new egress windows that would allow people to escape in cases of emergency. We also know that the facility would need a reimbursement grant of about $800,000 to provide temporary improvements until a proposed facility that can meet all of the stages of care is complete. Also, we're learning when those hiring and relocation bonuses could start for police officers in East Grand Forks. So if you remember, the city council just approved a proposal that would start some of those bonuses as soon as next year. And officers who have been with the department for at least 3 years will get a bonus of at least $3,000. Just to note, that number does go up depending on how many years of service. Payments will be divided evenly between the first paycheck of July 2023 and the first paycheck of January 2024. Really exciting news coming out of UND, guys, as it just got some major recognition by ESPN. So it's being recognized as a top 5 national banner school for its collaboration with the Special Olympics. Really cool stuff. And this whole award is for schools that go above and beyond in their inclusive efforts. So Special Olympics North Dakota does provide training and competition in 14 different sports to children and adults with intellectual disabilities for free. So way to go, UND. Way to step up your efforts there and get that major recognition. All right, speaking more on a national level of things, let's talk about this. Today, the Biden administration is set to announce the sale of additional oil reserves. And this, of course, could really help take some of that pressure off your wallet, especially when you're paying for your gas, right? So President Joe Biden today is expected to announce 3 steps. So the first being the sale of 15 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And the White House is pointing to the fact that that would meet Biden's promise to release a total of 180 million barrels over the span of 6 months. Now, second, he's also expected to discuss a plan to buy oil for the SPR once prices go down, and he is set to call on oil and gas companies to pass on these sky-high profits to consumers. Just to note, guys, we did check AAA for you guys this morning. Average price for a gallon of gas in North Dakota right now sits at $3.69, $3.72 on the other side of the river. Also, we know that the family of George Floyd has sent a cease-and-desist letter to rapper Kanye West, or as he now goes by Ye West. So in that letter, the lawyers for the family are saying that they intend on filing a lawsuit for harassment, defamation, and emotional distress. And this actually all comes from a podcast episode that he was a part of, where West implied that Floyd's death was strictly due to fentanyl. And he was also even pointing to the fact that former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who was literally found guilty of murdering George Floyd, he was arguing that he wasn't even on George Floyd's neck. And a medical examiner did come out earlier this year saying, his death was the result of restraint and neck compression. West has not yet responded to that letter. Podcast episode has since then been removed. Also right now, really, really urgent warning, especially for reptile pet owners. So the CDC right now is warning people about a salmonella outbreak that could be linked to pet bearded dragons. So we know 56 people have gotten sick so far in 26 different states. 2 of those people are from Minnesota. 19 of them even had to go to the hospital, and nearly half of those people affected were actually children younger than the age of 1. CDC says you should wash your hands thoroughly after touching or feeding a bearded dragon, and then touching or cleaning its living area as well. And then also parents, just a reminder, kids younger than 5 should just avoid contact with bearded dragons altogether. So make sure you keep everyone safe. Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, 9 to 11, WDAY Extra, InForum.com. Today we have your game of the week. It's Moorhead Spuds versus the Rogers Royals, which Rogers is a school in the city, so they're going to have a long drive up today. But we do know we're going to have game of the week today. We're going to have game of the week tomorrow and on Friday. And it's all because of MEA week, which is the Minnesota Educators Association's week. So, of course, Minnesota students kind of have it off. But that's what's going on. So I'm sure he'll touch on that a little bit this morning on his show, Hot Mic, with at 9 to 11, WDAY Extra, InForum.com. All right, before I let you off the hook, don't forget, for 99 cents a month for your first 3 months, you can get an all-access pass to InForum.com. Just go on InForum.com/subscribe to get that deal. I should just make that into like a jingle or like a song at this point. But anyway, all right, that's all we got today for you guys. But don't forget, we have our 11 o'clock newscast with Becky Parker and Dylan Vogt. Make sure you go join them. They're a blast to watch. And then also we have coverage in the evenings as well, starting at 4, going to 5, and then 6, 9, and 10. So make sure you go join our evening crew as well. We will see you back here tomorrow morning from 5 to 7. Hope you guys have a great day.